You know how guys are usually mama's boys and girls are usually daddy's girls? Well, it's the complete opposite for me and my family. Ever since I was little, it was very clear that my mom hated me, and my sister only cared about being in mom's good graces. Now, I don't know why the mere sight of me was enough to send my mom into a fury, but it did. She would always shout at me and order me around like a dog whenever she felt like it. And what's worse was that she would give away anything that was mine to her. When I was 8, Dad bought me a Lego set that I'd been dreaming of for months. And as soon as I opened the gift wrap, Mom snatched it out of my hands and put it in my grubby little sister's. Of course, I protested and cried. "Quit your sobbing! Boys don't cry!" "But it's my toy! Dad bought it for me!" "What a silly boy! Your sister barely even has any toys. You should give this to her and be a good brother!" I was so mad. It was my birthday, not hers. "Well, maybe if she learned to treat Dad better and not suck up to you all the time, she'd have more toys." The slap that was heard throughout the whole continent hit me right across the face, and I learned to keep quiet from that moment on. Dad, who overheard the whole thing, did not keep quiet, though. They fought for hours. I covered my ears, but I heard way too much. And it came out that Mom had been cheating on Dad for years with her personal trainer. Hi, everyone. My name's Carl. And my mom spread rumors about me because she wanted to take my house and give it to my pregnant sister. Did she succeed? Their marriage didn't last long after that. Dad immediately filed for divorce and packed his bags. My sister and I were given a choice of who to stay with. It's obvious, isn't it? Of course I stayed with Dad. And Janine stayed with Mom. Dad and I left the family home. When I asked Dad why, even though the house was his, this was his reply. "They'll need it more than we do. Just watch. Besides, I'll buy us a much cooler house." Dad was right. The house he bought for us to live in was massively cooler than our old house. It was a villa close to the beach, and it had a massive pool. We had a huge backyard, and he bought me every pet I've ever wanted. I can invite my friends over, and we had all the freedom we wanted to have pool parties and sleepovers. Dad was right about another thing as well. Mom had no job. All she did her whole life was mooch on Dad. And even when she sold the house to pay off her debt and be able to afford a rental apartment, my mom and my sister were still struggling. I would often see them, knocking at our door, creeping back in just to ask Dad for money. And because Dad was such a nice guy, he would give them some. But over the years, they just kept coming back, asking for more and more. Dad wasn't even legally required to support them anymore. Until one day, Dad said enough was enough. "But how will we survive?" "Should have thought of that before you cheated." "How dare you talk back to me like that?" "Cool it, son. That's your mother." "I don't care. Why doesn't she just get a job or mooch off of her boyfriend? She's with him now. Why is she still asking you for money?" Turned out, Mom and her gym instructor didn't last very long. The moment the guy learned that she had no money, he left her. And now they were about to get evicted because they sold the old house for cheap, and they've burned through that money in a matter of 2 years. Dad decided he was done. So he gave them one last bit of cash, and it was a huge payoff. Dad gave them $50,000. Half of it Dad told them to use for my sister's college tuition, and half was for them to live on until Mom could find a job. But what did they do? The first thing they did was shop for new clothes. And then my sister got a car. A new one. Not even a cheap second-hand one. She paid for her tuition, partially, but she wasted that money too, because she dropped out after only 3 months because she met a guy who promised her that he'd become some sort of rock star. Years later, he was still playing at some club where he spent more money on fuel than he made in a night. So, needless to say, my sister had wasted years of her life doing nothing. She didn't even want to get a job because, as she told everyone, she was her boyfriend's manager. Dad and I, on the other hand, were having an awesome life. His business grew over the years, and he sent me to the best university in the hopes that I would take over when he retired. After college, I immediately began working for him, and I loved it there. I met my girlfriend who I would end up proposing to there. When we got married, I didn't bother inviting my mom and my sister because I knew they would only go for the free food and would probably cause a scene. But all good things had to end. So, one summer, tragedy struck. I got a call from the cops. And when they told me my dad had passed due to a car accident, it was like I was punched in the gut. For days, I didn't know what to do. It was only thanks to my fiancée, Clara, that I ever pulled through. I had to bury my dad alone as Mom and Janine refused to come, saying the family would only make fun of them. But they were more than happy to appear on the day they read Dad's will. They were dressed up to the nines. You'd think they were going to some red carpet event. But all their hopes and dreams were dashed when the lawyer read out the will and it turned out Dad left them absolutely nothing. Not a single cent. He left everything he owned. His money, his new house, his cars, and his business. To me. Mom and Janine protested, but the lawyers simply ignored them, saying that was all there was to the will. And then, she said something that would haunt me for years. To him? That stupid idiot left everything to this boy? Who's not even his kid? I stood up in shock, in disbelief. Not his? What do you mean I'm not his? It means exactly what it means. He was not your father. I was already pregnant when we got married, and he knew. And he wanted to keep you. Stupid man. If I'd known you'd steal all the money I worked so hard for, I wouldn't have kept you all those years ago. I was so stunned I couldn't speak until they stormed out of the lawyer's office. I was pretty much speechless and just confused for days. But then Clara finally pulled me out of my depression. You know, it doesn't matter if he was your biological dad or not. He's still your dad. And he loved you like his own son, didn't he? Nothing's changed. He left all this for you because he loved you. It didn't matter to him that you're not his, so it shouldn't matter to you. And she was right. I didn't even bother finding out who my real dad was. My dad was my real dad. Mom finally found a job, but she was only earning enough for rent and food. Things took a turn for the worse when Janine's boyfriend got evicted from his parents' house because they no longer wanted to keep taking care of their 30-year-old son. So, Dylan had to move in with Janine and Mom. And boy, did that turn into a disaster. Janine got pregnant, and nobody was making any money. So one day, they just came into my house without even knocking and demanded that I give them my property. What? Why would I do that? Because you're not the real heir. My daughter is. And besides, she's pregnant. She needs this house more than you. But it isn't hers, is it? You can't just go around telling people to give you their houses. Try next door. Maybe you'll have better luck. How dare you speak to me like that? I am your mother. Now I'm being nice. I won't throw you out right away. You have 48 hours to pack up and leave. I was not having any of their crap, so I picked up my phone and started dialing the cops. What are you doing? Calling the police? You have 5 minutes to leave and never return. Mom grabbed my phone out of my hands, threw it onto the floor, and began jumping on it. She then grabbed me by the shirt, stood me up, and began slapping me left and right. You will give me back everything! Everything you stole! This house is mine! I pushed her away, and she overdramatically stumbled back and pretended to hit the wall. See? He's assaulting me! Janine, call the cops! I simply laughed. Go ahead. You realize I have CCTV in this house. We can both wait for the cops and then I'll show them the footage. Mom and Janine were out of there faster than you could say aggravated assault. But that night, they posted on every social media they had. They were telling my friends, our relatives, that I assaulted her, and that I was stopping them from getting their rightful inheritance. It was at this point that I'd had enough. I wasn't gonna let them ruin my reputation and my dad's business for their greed and laziness. I decided not to press charges, but after seeing their posts, I immediately called the cops, told them what happened, and showed them the CCTV footage. Mom was arrested for assault, trespassing, and harassment. I also filed a defamation case against her for the false claims she was making online. She had no way to fight the charges because she was penniless, and she was gonna have to learn her lesson in prison. Janine groveled at my feet to spare her. She retracted all her posts and confessed online to what she and Mom did. But nobody believed her after that. Not even our relatives. So when she begged them to let her crash at their place because she had nowhere to go, nobody wanted to take her in. I'm not a monster, so I offered. I made her Clara's maid. So that's how everything turned around for me. Clara and I got married, and now she's 4 months pregnant. And Mom? Well, she got what was coming to her in the end.
Please don't forget to share this podcast on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and so on. Thanks for your support. Check out our YouTube channel by clicking the link in this episode description. And also, kindly please rate and review this podcast. Bye.